everybody, welcome back for Vlogmas day number 3. As you just heard there, it is absolutely howling wind-wise. It is freezing. We've got some snow coming down, almost sounds like hail, and this is absolutely freaking incredible. I love it. ICF houses are so freaking quiet. The camper's rattling, it's making noise. You can hear every leaf and branch and everything else moving around. But in here, even though we're blowing against the west side of the house here, it's almost dead quiet. You can barely hear a thing. There's a little bit of noise, I think, coming through right here, which I don't think that will go away once we put in the door in here. But there's a few things that we can take care of, like with some spray foam. As you can see, the little bit of a gap right here. But anyway, regardless of that, you guys asked for it. It's been a couple weeks that we've had the insulation up in the attic. So we've got the thermal. We want to see that right now, because it is absolutely freezing cold, strong winds blowing, we want to see if there is any real cold spots here in the roof or the ceiling and anywhere around any like windows and doors, and see if we can tell what's going on. Now, yesterday was kind of unfair for the temperature in here right now. We still have the basement set to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's 62.2 degrees in here right now. But the reason why I say it was unfair is because yesterday it was about 55 degrees, which is a little abnormal. You get it every once in a blue moon, like on one day in December, which it seems like we just had. But I think that's a little bit unfair, the fact that it is so warm in here, because yesterday it was so warm outside. Now, before we break out the thermal, one thing that I do want to mention, Aaron was right about this. The basement is freaking warm. You go down there with a jacket on, within 5 minutes, you're already starting to sweat. It is like a sauna down there. It feels like when you have too much clothes on. And again, it's only set to freaking 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's probably due to the fact that, you know, it's warmer down on your feet than it is up here where the thermostat is. We saw in a couple videos ago, we know that concrete, when the radiant floor tubes are on, they're pushing like 70 degrees or something, actually, where each tube falls. But holy crap, we can't live in a basement like that when just walking up the stairs or walking down there, you already start to perspire. So what I have thinking that could maybe help with the basement is we have got to start talking about installing the HRV. If you're not familiar with an HRV or even an ERV, it's basically just a fancy air exchanger. I don't care if you guys live in any combination of house put together, whether it be studs and ICF or SIP panels, etc. You need to bring in fresh air into a house, especially houses nowadays. People keep fighting so much online that says you can't build a house tight, or no, you need to build a house tight. And then everyone gets on the argument that no one seems to understand that you install an air exchanger. And to the people who think that a house should be built loose, no, you are correct. You build a house too tight, things can mold and rot and stuff like that. But if you put it in an air exchanger that you're not knowing about or what it is, you will help decrease that, because obviously you're bringing in fresh air all of the time. You're not constantly relying on a big old crack around a window or a traditional stud frame house. You're not relying on this box being in this wall cavity where the outside sheathing has a big old air leak. It gets around the insulation within that stud cavity, and then air is shooting out of your outlets. You're not relying on that air right there to be your fresh air exchanger. That's an old school way of thinking. We need to stop doing that, and people need to get educated and learn that you can build a house super tight. You can put zip paneling on the outside and tape your seams, caulk all of your nail holes. Yes, you will have a super tight house that is going to be crazy energy efficient, but You need to bring in that fresh air. Now, one thing I thought about the other day is I wonder why so many people end up having like lung cancer and stuff who've never smoked, or other sort of cancers from possible carcinogens. That where would they pick it up from? If you think about it, an air conditioning and a traditional furnace in a house, you're literally just blowing your own filth 24/7. Your windows are closed in the summertime because it's too hot, and they're closed in the wintertime because it's too cold. All a furnace does is suck the air out from inside of the house, run it down through the return, pass it through a filter, which does help your own filth a little bit, but then it just blows that air right back into where you're breathing. Now, obviously the filter is catching, pet dandruff and your dandruff and skin cells and all the dust and everything else floating around in your house. But one important thing that I think is a problem nowadays, a filter can't filter out like gases and stuff. If you've got a brand new house, you've got off-gassing of certain products, you've got paints, you've got stains, you've got plastic piping with chemicals to put them together, you've got glue in subwood floors. All of that stuff can off-gas with those VOCs, or volatile organic chemicals. They can off-gas for years to come. You may be able to paint that wall right there, and it may feel dry in an hour, but that paint is still going to off-gas. If you have a completely enclosed, tight house, you're not going to be getting those VOCs caught within just a regular traditional furnace filter, and then not have those blow right back into your face. So in my opinion, I think that's why tighter houses in today could be causing more health risks. Even in older houses, if you're not getting enough air coming through your walls, again, through outlets or through switches or in between, like wood right here or in between here, we've got to get better air quality in the house, or you're just going to be breathing in your own filth. And let's face it, I lived in houses before. I never freaking changed out my filter on my furnace properly. That thing was supposed to be changed every 3 to 6 months. You damn well know people are out there aren't changing their furnace filters probably once a year or longer. You pull those things out and you're like, oh my God, that's disgusting. That filter should have been changed months and months and months ago. So then that case, you are breathing in, dandruff and dirt and everything else that's floating around in your house. So again, how do we prevent that from happening? It doesn't matter what type of house you live in. An HRV or an ERV, that is an air exchanger, will bring air from the outside into the unit, will blow it into your fresh air that gets blown out through your house, like through your heating or your cooling. Then there'll be a register to suck that back through, either by itself or suck it back in through the house's traditional return airflow. It'll go back through the unit and then it'll kick it back outside. So again, it doesn't matter what type of house you have. It doesn't even matter if you have a furnace. You can literally install an air exchanger, like right now in our house, with no air filtration or no furnace. We'll put a hole through the wall. We'll put that into the unit. It will blow it up into the inside. There'll be another register that will suck everything out of this house, send it back through the unit, and we'll blow it back outside. That is going to keep humidity roughly controlled, but it's going to be able to be powerful enough that we're going to be able to get rid of all of this nasty stagnant air, which is what we're dealing with right now. I personally do not smell anything bad in here, but we're also not living in here. But you can imagine there are some things probably going on because, again, for the first time, we do have this house completely sealed up and there is no air movement in this house at all. Just opening and closing the garage door over here, you can feel that door giving pushback because this house is so freaking airtight. In fact, we could probably even right now, well, maybe not for the back windows and doors. That would probably be cheating. We'll have to wait on that. But what I was going to say, this house is probably so air sealed right now that we could pay for our blower door score to see how tight of a house we actually made. That would be an awesome video if I would have gotten these doors in, because there probably is a little bit of air leakage through this rock wool here, through the sides or through here or something, and then it's getting outside. So we'll have to wait on that. But again, just opening and closing that garage door, you can just feel how tight it is and how resistant that door does not want to close, that this house is super, super tight. and we've got to get some fresh air in here, or at least start exchanging the air per hour. And that is how the HRV and the ERVs work. You get a unit based on your total cubic volume of your entire house, so first floor and basement. That comes back as like a CFM for how much air it's moving per hour. And then you can do your calculations for how, like if you want a bigger unit or a smaller unit, you basically calculate it on a, I think it's a 0.35 air exchanges per hour. So basically in 3 hours at 0.35, you can completely change out the house one full time. Actually, you'd be a little bit over one full time, but you see what I'm saying. It's a simple calculation to do. It's just length times width times height. They want you to divide it by 60 and then multiply it how many time air exchanges you want per hour. And the general rule of thumb is about 0.35. You can go higher, you can go lower, but the unit that it came back for us is about 238 CFM. And the unit I'm looking at, so that I'm not underdoing it, I'm going to the next unit above, it looks like it's about 260 CFM. So that is definitely something that needs to get on our list to purchase. That is something that we definitely need to get going and actually installing, because that is holding us up actually on passing the entire house official checkoff for structural framing, because we have to drill holes through all of the floor joists because we do not want to have any bulkheads, and the engineer needs to make sure that I'm drilling those holes for the fresh air and the return going back. We need to make sure that the holes are in the right spot and they are of the right size. So I may purchase that unit here for Vlogmas, and hopefully we can get it by the end of the year. It's definitely something that I think, again, to go back on this whole entire story, is that I think that may help out for the basement a little bit, because we're going to be pulling out that basement air and throwing it outside, and we're going to be bringing in some fresh air. And the HRV is a heat recovery unit, so it'll take the freezing cold air outside, pass it by the heat that's in here, and that way we're not blowing like 30-degree air into the house. It will heat it up a little bit so that we have fresh air, but it may be a little bit cooler, and that actually may help the basement out just a tiny bit. But I won't know until I actually get the unit and get it set accordingly for how many air exchanges per hour that we actually want. Or like I said, 0.35 would be one full house air exchange over the course of roughly about 3 hours. All right, so wish me luck. This is the first time I'm actually looking at this. And so far it does adjust itself accordingly, kind of like on the fly, especially when there's like cold spots here and there. It kind of adjusts the camera accordingly, but it looks like we're a good 60. Wow, that's weird. We're getting 65 degrees, even though that thermostat over there is showing 62, 65 in the basement, or at least above the basement over there, and all the way over there in the kitchen, 64.6. So besides these lights being a little bit warmer than everything else, ooh, what do you guys see over there? That's interesting. Our chase over here looks to be a little bit colder. Why is that? The entire chase is cold. Oh no, it's not. It's not the chase. Ah, okay, we're good. That scared me there for a second. That is the fresh air intake for the boiler for the radiant floor. So out of all three of those pipes, actually you can see the two pipes side by side. That is the hot gas going out. That's only about 71 degrees. And the cold air coming in and getting heated up is 60. So that's quite a difference. But phew, that scared me there for a second. That is definitely not the chase being a cold spot. That is just an actual pipe bringing in cold air from the outside. But as I thought, that top plate up there, which is a 2x10 sitting on the ICF wall, that definitely is a little bit colder than the ICF wall itself and the ceiling there, because you've got a thermal bridge right there where the cold air is coming through that 2x10 and bringing it in there. But I mean, we're only looking at 65 versus about 63. So only about a 2-degree difference. And that's obviously because we're heating up that 2x10 on this side, and probably somewhere in the middle they're getting cold to each other, or meeting in the middle and, you know, doing whatever temperature that they're going to do. But everywhere around where that top plate is, yeah, it's only a degree or two difference. Maybe a little cold spot right there. Again, only a degree or so different. But everywhere that I can see, up in the ceiling, there's no real cold spots except just a little bit around where the top plate is, and everything else looks to be freaking perfect. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, this door is cold. That's the one thing where you're gonna lose all of your heat in a house no matter what. And that is that this door is only 1 inch or 2 in thickness. And you've got a gap right here where the door opens that's only provided by a weather seal. And that's obviously just not a good thermal value because you only got 1 inch or 2 of like fiberglass or wood or steel in your house. And you're not gonna get that much insulation no matter what out of just like 1 inch or 2. And then of course around all the windows and doors, we've got the spray foam, obviously around everywhere, but unfortunately you can just see we're down to about 60 degrees because these doors and stuff and these windows, they are made of traditional wood right here. And that wood is just not thin at all or thick at all. And it's just not very deep, doesn't have a lot of good depth. So of course you're gonna have a bad thermal value around all of your windows, but there's really nothing that you can do about that. But there's definitely no air leaking or anything around there. It just happens to be a little bit cooler than the ICF or anything else around it. All right, so just last thing here, let's check out the master bedroom, see if there's any cold spots in here, which it does not look like it. It is all one solid temperature in here at 67 degrees, hell yeah. About 63 though, up along that corner. Again, that's because there's a top plate up there and the top plate pretty much around the entire foundation, but everything else seems to be the same temperature. So that is awesome. We are thermally the exact same except for a few degrees around those upper top plates. So I am ecstatic about that. But the only thing that I do want to mention that is a problem with the design of our heating and cooling, we have to leave this door open. Obviously with that door shut, these walls are going to be up. That entire wall over there is insulated, and that heat from that basement is just not going to get through that wood door that comfortably. So with that door open, or I'm sorry, with that door closed, there definitely can be like a 5, 6, 7 degree drop in temperature within the master, the bathroom, and the closet. So we're gonna have to leave that door open until one day we get our mini split installed, and then our mini split that will be mounted up here in the bedroom, it can provide additional heat when that door closes. And then we can leave these doors open and that mini split can blow all of its heat all the way to the front of the house. But now I can see why Aaron wanted to possibly put radiant floor throughout everywhere, or at least running radiant floor over there, which that is still technically kind of a possibility. We can put it up underneath of the subfloor and heat the bedroom on its own circuit, but that would mean another thermostat and another pump, and then probably just one more additional run for PEX to go from there and to get over there. All right, so last thing, I just want to check real quick. Again, it's been a couple weeks since we've blown in the insulation. I am curious if it has fallen at all. And yeah, it does look like it has fallen a little bit, or compressed. I don't know if you guys can see it, but right there on camera, you can see the orange string is starting to pop up. So we have probably gone down a little bit. With the compression of all of this insulation, it's probably gone down maybe 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and it will probably continue to do that over the next year or so. But we knew that was going to happen, and it says right on the manufacturer packages that that will happen. It's not a big deal. If anything, it's only going to compress down more into maybe any little grooves that I missed and it wasn't compacted enough. It'll kind of push down in there and make it a little bit more tighter. But at least on top, it is still extremely fluffy and seems to be doing one hell of a job for insulating this house. All right, guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Vlogmas day number 3, I think, complete. We know we've done an awesome job. We know what we're looking for now, HRV-wise and size-wise. Hopefully I will, again, be able to purchase it this month, get it delivered this month, and then maybe we'll even install it because I still need some more Vlogmas days to fill up. And then I'll tell you the make and model and everything. But fingers crossed we can get it and it can show up and I can actually afford it. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. We'll figure out what we're gonna do tomorrow and then we'll be back then. So take care.